Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go, man. Hunt the ball. Let's go, family on three. 1, 2, 3, family.
Hello, football family. Welcome into Huddle It Up Films. Big game this week. Ravens, Bengals. Man, coming up on the division games, finally for the Ravens. The Ravens entered the game in first place in the AFC North. Also best overall record in the AFC at 5-1. Huge divisional game. With me to discuss it, as usual, we got Garnett and Jake. Fellas, how's it going?
It's going really well. How about you?
Oh, man, I can't complain, man. It's, one day away from Friday, man. It's a beautiful day or night.
That's right. Hey, full moon last night. I was out there staring at it. Looked like it was staring at me. It was a nice night here in Baltimore, and was up doing some film study late, trying to figure out this new Bengals defense and team. Looks pretty good. This is a huge game for the Ravens, as I mentioned. If they win, they can build a 2-game lead in the AFC North. If the Bengals are able to win, they tie the Ravens, and actually, of course, would have the tiebreaker with the head-to-head. So, could you guys just first of all speak to this Ravens team and the importance of this matchup?
Yeah, so for me, this team has been really impressive. We've talked about it a million times on here, the adversity that they've gone through, from literally the preseason all the way until this point, with all of the injuries they've overcome. They're proving to the whole NFL that they are here for the long haul, and hopefully here to get deep into the playoffs this year. So I'm feeling really strong about the Ravens. Cincinnati, we'll get into how strong of a team they are, but their offense has been really, really good, and their defense is definitely tuned up a couple notches from what it was in 2020.
Yeah, I concur with Jake on that, man. Our team has been built off of adversity. We experienced every low and every miracle high, I should say. It's a beautiful thing that we're building with our organization, our team. I think that we're not going to be. I remember you said this, Jason, and I completely agree. From the last time we all talked, we're never going to be at 100%. But damn clear if we're going to be, 100% effort, I would say. And the fact that we're going to get players back, and that's going to play very crucial down the road. And the Chargers games was perfect example of we might be beat up, but you know what? We don't make the same mistake twice, especially when it comes to just the basic things, forms of tackle. And it's going to be a rough road for a lot of people if we stay, this kind of chemistry from here on out.
Yes, Chargers game, great test, great result. Just couldn't ask for anything more as a Ravens fan. And I remember talking about how great it would be if Lamar didn't have to be Superman in this game and we could win. Well, Lamar didn't have to be Superman, and we absolutely beat them down. So great sign. I see similarities too with this Cincinnati game, because I look at Cincinnati's schedule and what they played, and your schedule is what it is, of course. They've gone through all AFC North teams, or NFC North teams, excuse me. So they've played offenses like the Bears, and the Lions offense like we have. They've also played Jacksonville. So I think that this will be a good test for the Bengals team. If I'm looking at it from a Bengals perspective, I think that this, much like the Chargers, is a yardstick game for them.
I completely agree with that. Especially they played against Green Bay most recently with their second loss, and that was just a day of bad kicking across the NFL when it came to just field goals. But they went toe to toe with them, had the game won. They also obviously they lost because of field goal stuff. But other than that, they're tough. This is not the same Bengals that we used to seeing. And the thing about it is, like, every time they played us, I believe they got better and better, especially with the linebacker play. And that's what I really like to see from them. I would like to, I'm worried from them when it comes to us. They're very skilled.
Yeah, those linebackers are definitely an improved unit there. And obviously, one of the things that made the headlines this week on Twitter was their stud linebacker that mentioned Lamar as a running back. I don't really think that's what he meant. a running back out there that can throw the ball. I think he was trying to compliment, but it was kind of taken out of context. But those guys can play, and we'll get into their whole unit coming up.
Yeah, Logan Wilson, and he's a perfect example of a guy that, at linebacker, it just takes a little bit. It's what we've been waiting for on Patrick Queen. But Logan Wilson, solid tackler, a really good player. I believe he played in Wyoming, but he caught my eye, just a magnet for the ball, a guy I liked coming out of the draft. So it's good to see him playing well for the Bengals. Jermaine Pratt, we'll get into the individual matchups, but overall, the Bengals seem to supplement their team with some veteran pieces. They got some continuity now with their defensive coordinator in his second year, Zach Taylor, making his mark. So overall, this should be a really good game and a big test for the Bengals. And I think a mental test for the Ravens to stay strong, hold serve in their own house, bye week coming up, long home stretch. I don't think the Ravens, their history is they're prepared to play. It's a team that's prepared to play. It's one thing that we love as Ravens fans. But let's get into this matchup. We start with the Ravens having the ball, as always. On the offensive line, Bradley Bozeman back practicing and Alejandro Villanueva back practicing. So it looks like the Ravens will have their same line from last week. Tyree Phillips, expect him to actually rotate in with Ben Powers, much like they did with Ben Cleveland. I kind of think that they want Tyree to get his feet wet, take a few series here and there. The Bengals much improved on the defensive line. Now they have a legitimate threat in DJ Reader, big nose tackle, gave the Ravens problems when he was in Houston. They also have Raven killer Larry Ogunjobi, who I never understood why his PFF stats were so damn low, because when he plays the Ravens, he plays on fire. They added Trey Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard. So offensive line versus defensive line of the Bengals is going to be a key matchup in this game. So what do we expect? Who's going to win the battle in the trenches here and where?
I think we have a solid opportunity. Well, I would say it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a dog fight. Let me just get this straight. Any division game that we go, that we have, is always going to be a dog fight. Record goes out the window. All that. It's all about what's going to happen in the trenches in those games. And I believe that hopefully Bradley Bozeman back is okay, but I feel very confident with Tristan Colon Castillo, or AKA Tristan Colon, since he dropped the Castillo. But I feel very confident if he had to step in. But Macari has been doing good this whole time. Model consistency on the right tackle. Villanueva, he gets beat from time to time, but he's been holding it down, and I would like to see how we're going to work in Tyree Phillips on that line. But when it comes to their defense, though, Trey Hendrickson, he reminds me of one of those old school, I guess, defensive ends that I used to look up to, like a Jared Allen type. Just old school build, just grown man, everything about him, nice, fast off the edge, and just physicality. That's the first thing I think of. And then with DJ Reader, solid veteran. He always does his part. And Ogunjobi, same thing. It's just those. They just got dogs across the middle. Across in the trenches, from left to all the way to right. And I really do admire that about the Cincinnati. You can never overlook that.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. The Trey Hendrickson comparison to Jared Allen was a little out there for me, but he has been a good player, especially at the tail end of his stint with the Saints and now with the Bengals. I think maybe if you blend that comparison with like Jarrett Johnson, a Ravens great, but not necessarily the best pass rusher in the world, you're getting a little closer to accurate. But yeah, I mean, those guys are wild. They're pretty darn good, especially Larry Ogunjobi with Cleveland. He was just a monster for us. Just really difficult to beat in the trenches. And I think this is going to be one of those dogfights that you mentioned, Garnett.
And not to overlook BJ Hill, NC State product. I believe they traded Billy Price for him. So they do have some depth there, which is always important when you're trying to rotate in and out defensive linemen, especially against this Ravens run scheme. Very difficult matchups, but I believe that this will be a stalemate, if I had to call it. The Ravens interior has been very good. Kevin Zeitler, excellent player. Bradley Bozeman has played well. We're getting what we need out of the left guard position. And we're giving help, it seems, at the right places. The Ravens are negating good defensive end edge players play. When we saw it with Bosa, we saw it with Chris Jones. Just by the confusion, we'll have Ricard chip on them, the tight ends chip on them before they go out. Really a good, and then of course the Lamar factor, which we've talked about many times before. Defensive ends and edge players can't sell out totally to rush Lamar with everything they have. They have to keep their eyes on Lamar, and they can't let Lamar escape out the side door, or else it's going to be a big gain. So the combination of all of that has really helped the Ravens. And then again, on the Bengals end, just extremely talented, big talent bump for them on the defensive line, really the defensive side altogether. So the rankings for this game, it's about time when we get into yards per carry and yards per attempt when it comes to passing. We're going to start with the Ravens running game versus the Bengals run defense. The Ravens are 6th in yards per attempt. Good old-fashioned Ravens football, averaging 4.9 yards per rush. The Bengals, big surprise, are all the way up at 7th in the league in run defense when it comes to yards per carry allowed. The Bengals are at 3.9. They're only allowing 3.9 yards per rush. You mentioned Logan Wilson. He's playing well. They also have Pratt. They have Akeem Davis-Gaither, who was a good player, but he seems more of a passing situation type player. So when we're talking about Ravens having the ball and trying to run the ball on this Bengals, it's going to be an interesting matchup to see how effective we are. How are we feeling about this?
I think it's still a mixed bag for me, simply because of the group of runners we have. They're getting the job done, and they're performing at a decent rate for Baltimore. This past week, all 3 of the guys that were active scored for Baltimore, which is really cool. Devontae Freeman, Latavius Murray, who seems banged up and wasn't able to finish the game, and then of course Le'Veon Bell as well. Those guys are doing enough out there, but I feel like so much of their success is because of what Lamar creates for the defense. Just the difficulty that he puts on them, the eyes that are in the backfield, just looking at Lamar open things up, and that's good for us. So I think we're going to be able to run the ball better than what they're allowing, that 3.9. It might be, a split the difference scenario where it's somewhere between 4.9 and 3.9, or maybe the Ravens are able to go off. I'm not really sure in this one, but I'm a little bit better than lukewarm on the Ravens run game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, but I think yeah, with the back situation, it all depends on how we go at it. Read option wise, I think we can catch a couple guys out of position just due of complacency during, if we go a little up tempo on them, just to catch them out of, catch them slipping. But I really think Freeman, just if he gets a couple more carries and more opportunities, I feel that he can build something. I think he's out of all the backs right now, I feel that he has something going. He's building progress more than the other ones, and hopefully get Le'Veon more involved. I feel very confident, especially. I feel like, to be honest with you, other than the Green Bay game, I don't think they've really been tested. Up the middle, or really just in the trenches wise. And I think that we will have a good chance to push them, especially like I said, this is a rivalry game. I think we're gonna be able to dominate them a couple times, just to get when they're out of breath, and then we go from there. Especially if we can get a lead on them, I think we can literally just give them a slow death. That's what I'm hoping.
I'm hoping so too, and I want to go around again on this run game, because really on this side of the ball, when the Ravens have the ball and the Bengals are on defense, this is the most unpredictable part of the game for me, because I look at the Bengals offense. It looks pretty much the same. They upgraded their number 1 option with Jamar Chase over an older, unhappy AJ Green. So, but the Bengals defense is much different. The Ravens offense has shown it's much different. In the run game, though, with Latavius Murray not practicing and, Harbaugh seeming to mix and match these backs, I expect Tyson Williams will be active in this game. If Latavius isn't, it's going to be Tyson maybe getting a new chance. I think we'll see probably a heavier dose of Devontae Freeman than normal because, as Garnett mentioned, and I think Jake too, he looks the most comfortable. Like just eye test, comfort level, mesh point, being where you're supposed to be. Devontae Freeman actually looks like he's been in this offense longer than the other backs. So, Tyson Williams, that's a guy I want to focus on from here. Do you think he's going to get a chance to get 5 to 8 carries like most of these backs have? And what would you expect in that area? Can he give us the juice? Can he reestablish himself?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I definitely think he can. I will just say this, in case I can pull a little Nostradamus here. Perhaps it's not Tyson Williams that's being activated. It could be the other hero from the preseason, the running back who you guys know pretty well. But
Nate Dogg.
Yeah, Nate McCrary. I had his name and then I forgot it. But it's going to be interesting either way. Tyson has some juice. We all saw it, and then I don't know if he lost his confidence. He's just been hurt with the fumbles early on. I think he can get 6 carries, maybe a little bit more than that. It just depends on the game flow. Are the Ravens able to consistently put runs in the game script, or are they trailing and do they need to throw the ball? And maybe their matchups are better to throw the ball. I'm not 100% sure in this one, so I'd say yes to whoever that is, if it's Tyson Williams or if it's Nate McCrary, that they can get that 6 to 8 carries.
Yeah, I know somebody was mentioning it to me earlier today that we're lacking a juice player, I guess a home run hitter or whatever. I think Tyson, like you said, Nate Dogg or Tyson Williams are the best options. Or shoot, we haven't really seen Devontae Freeman really open up. So I'm not gonna throw him out of the equation just yet, but I, with that being said, I believe that Freeman is the guy, and Le'Veon on third downs will be, and then whatever I hope Williams maybe get hopefully 10 carries in this game, just to give him loosen up because the conservative scary running. I want that out of his system. Like people make mistakes, man. It's all good. Live and die, man. Live and learn. That's the best way I can say it, man. Hopefully he has that opportunity to break out of the habit because he doesn't look the same as that week 1, basically.
It really is. It really does look like a confidence issue for Tyson, and everybody responds differently. And he does. Chris just joking mentioned that Tyson looked like a different runner, holding on to the ball for dear life and really trying to protect it and not just playing free. And Jake, man, Nate McCrary is my guy. He's a guy I'd like to see get a shot because I think that he can really run be that outside option when we run the read option. We've shown a penchant for wanting to put Lamar up the middle more and not have Lamar on the edges. So if you're looking for a speed back to threaten the edges, I really like Nate McCrary. If Tyson is not where the coaches want him to be, then yes, I love that idea, Jake. If Nate McCrary is active for this game, me personally, I'll be excited to see what he has to do. So in the passing game, though, we mentioned in the running game, we have 2 top 10 units when it comes to yards per carry allowed. Well, in the passing game, we have 2 top 5 units. The Ravens, 5th in yards per attempt at a lofty 8.7. Your Lamar Jackson-led Ravens with Hollywood Brown, Mark Andrews and company, 8.7 yards per pass attempt. The Bengals are 3rd in yards allowed per pass attempt. Bengals are only allowing 6.5 yards per pass attempt. Now, we know about Jesse Bates, Von Bell, steady player. I think something that might hurt Cincinnati in this matchup when I look at their talent is with Trey Waynes injured again, they have Eli Apple playing cornerback, which sticks out like a sore thumb to me because they're so talented everywhere else in their pass defense. I feel like Eli Apple is a guy that the Ravens are going to try to target with with Rashad Bateman, basically, because I feel like, Hollywood will be covered by their number one, of course. So how do you feel about this matchup? Two top 5 teams when it comes to passing and pass defense. Ravens with the ball.
Yeah, so I'm gonna call this game the battle of the second corner because it, we're gonna be going after Eli Apple. I'm not trying to jump in the future, but and they're definitely we already know they're gonna be going after Anthony Avery. So it's basically who can withstand the challenge, and I don't see Eli Apple being able to withstand it for a full 4 quarters, I should say, especially you know as you say, Bateman, this could be a really nice opportunity for him to show what he's truly capable of doing. I know he's still in a crawl, walk, run phase, but coming back from the injury, but I think he can really open up a little bit in this game, hopefully. And also, if we even put Devin Duvernay or Prochet the second out there, I believe that we can get an opportunity to just, have a chance to, mess with their defense a little bit. Chidobe Awuzie, he's a good corner. We all know what Basin Bell brings, but when it comes to after as you mentioned the injuries to the secondary, the second option, the third option is really that's where I would go after. Especially if we flex Mark Andrews in the Y position, use that take full advantage of that and those things. So you're opening up the middle of the field for a late drags or whatever. But I really think we have an opportunity to be successful with them if we get the time in the pocket.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Time is critical for Lamar. I mean, a lot of times he is the one creating that time to throw, and his guys get open. So honestly, I'm not even worried about Hollywood being locked down by their number one. I would say going into this one, you're probably going to target Eli Apple, whoever's going against him, whether that's Rashad Bateman, that's Devin Duvernay, James Prochet, or if it's Hollywood. It should be an advantageous matchup. And I also think Mark Andrews is going to have a chance to eat. But the comments this week, it might be out there, you know, not coach speak because it was the player, but it could kind of be bait. Not necessarily that he's not going to have a good game, but he said he's about to go off because it's tight end day on Sunday, and we'll see how much attention the Bengals give him because they have Jesse Bates, who's a great safety. They have Von Bell, a pretty solid safety, and then their corners aren't quite as good, especially with the injury that they have there.
Exactly. No, Awuzie, of course, started in Dallas, had a rough time there, comes to Cincinnati, and here through, the first third of the season has played extremely well. That said, Hollywood Brown has been a tough matchup for whoever has been covering him with his quickness. So, yes, I mean, I don't feel like, even if that's a break-even matchup, Hollywood's still going to get his 5-6 catches. And if they put too much emphasis on stopping Hollywood, Bates over the top, that kind of thing, it's really going to open up things on the other side against Eli Apple. And then, yeah, Jake, I agree. Mark Andrews, I think, is a problem. Von Bell, Mike Hilton, their slot corner, better against the run. A very, very good blitzer, by the way, Mike Hilton. We know him from his Steelers days. Coverage, though, that's where he's an average player, in my opinion, and the stats and the numbers show all that. So it'll be an opportunity for Prochet the second, or Duvernay. Also be a big opportunity for Mark Andrews in this game. So, yes, I think the Ravens actually can hold their own here against the Bengals in the passing game. In their passing game, it's really going to be up to the Bengals, I think, how they attack the Ravens defensively, because we've seen the Ravens will take what the defense gives you. If you're backed up, like the Los Angeles Chargers were, we're going to keep running. We're going to keep running. If you play us like Denver has, like the Indianapolis Colts have, where you basically have your linebackers on the heels of the offensive linemen, we're going to throw in the middle of the field. We're going to test you deep. You play deep shells, we're going to hurt you in the intermediate area. So that brings to the question, we usually ask, how will the Ravens attack the Bengals? But I think this really has to do with how the Bengals are going to play the Ravens. So how do you see this playing out as far as what the Bengals plan of attack would be against this Ravens offense? And how do you think the Ravens match up or take advantage of that?
Yeah, I think their focus is going to be Lamar Jackson, number one. I mean, that should be every defense's focus against the Ravens. And then number two is probably going to be Mark Andrews. And perhaps it should be Hollywood, and I could be wrong. Maybe they switch it, but you can't really lock down all three of those guys with how well they have been playing this year. So I imagine they are going to be spying Lamar as often as they can. They don't want more highlights being put up uh, with him pulling the spin move, long touchdown run against the Bengals, and they also don't want Lamar to just have a great game passing the ball. So I'm sure they're going to mix things in, disguise some coverages, of course, and try to show the Ravens something they haven't seen, but ultimately, this game just comes down to being your best. For the Ravens, that's winning in the trenches and scheming guys open, connecting on passes, and getting the running game going. So they have to respect it. So I mean, ultimately, I see it kind of going that way. It's kind of a vanilla answer, but it seems pretty true that Cincinnati's going to really hone in on Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, man. Just take what the defense gives you. I just no trick to it. I think that's this whole season that since we've been on this winning streak, that's all we've been doing. Literally just adapting to what we see and then just attacking that. That's why I give all my praises to G Road, T Martin, and Keith Williams on those things, on those aspects that literally, this is a completely different offense in so many different ways, not because of just injuries, but the way how we go about our business on the field. And still in shock that we're seeing this on a regular basis, and I love it. Like, if we see a cover two look, we're killing them with the intermediate stuff across the middle, drag, slants, digs. So it's like everything we're taking full advantage of the field. We're like the term that Greg Roman said this all season, it stuck with me, and I've been waiting for it, and now I've seen it literally 4 weeks in a row. We're gonna make you defend every blade of grass, and that's what we're doing now, and I love it.
Me too, man. Love it. Love what I've seen from the Ravens offense as far as just the ability to adapt game for game. If I had to make a call, answer the question here, I would say that the Bengals are going to play it more like Indianapolis and Denver did, to try to take away that run game and rely on a pass defense for them that has been very effective. And if that's the case, what I want to see from the Ravens is for them to take a deep shot to the other side of the field. I'm talking about Rashad Bateman specifically. Throw Bateman a deep ball. Test Eli Apple. Give him a little double move. Give him a sluggo. Let's see where Bates' eyes are. Maybe Hollywood runs something deeper, intermediate on the other side, a deep dig with a go or a post from Bateman to really test Jesse Bates, stress Jesse Bates deep and stress him, particularly on Bateman's side of the field, to make them respect that. But yeah, if the Bengals are selling out to defend the run, then I want to see us test Eli Apple on that side, because I think Andrews is obviously he's going to be part of the game plan. He's going to be hard to cover no matter if they put Hilton on him, whether they put Von Bell on him. I expect to see Andrews up the seam on this team a lot, and really just sitting down in the zones that we know Lamar is going to face. But yeah, if I had to call an X factor, I'd say Rashad Bateman deep, baby. Like, this is the game to give him one early. I want to see it. I would love to see it. So final thoughts on the offense versus defense. Like I said, I kind of wanted to go around a little bit extra on this just because it's the more fascinating of the matchup. So Jake, if you want to start us off here, what else are you looking for when the Ravens have the ball?
Man, I love the Bateman shot. That makes so much sense to me. I was really waiting to see this past game some deeper targets for him, and we didn't really see that. The first interception Lamar had looked like it was going to Bateman, and he totally didn't see the linebacker. I guess I don't know. That was his poor throw, and then the other one was on Bateman for not catching the ball. But Rashad can be the kind of player I hoped he would be, which is a chain mover, but also so much more than that. He really gives the Ravens another weapon besides Mark Andrews that Lamar can look to on 3rd down and 5, 3rd down and 7, and he can trust that Bateman's going to get open and that he can box out the defender and catch the ball. And I'm excited to see that, and I hope that the Ravens use him a good bit in this game. Also, watch out for Devin Duvernay. We saw him get a couple end arounds in this past game, looking really good in the run game. I don't know that they're going to really turn him into a Cordero Patterson anytime soon, but he's special with the ball in his hands. So I would also mention Devin Duvernay as a possible key factor in this game for the Ravens on offense.
I'll pick up right off what you said with Devin Duvernay. With Dev, I would like to see him on maybe in a slot and go literally just do a deep post a couple times. Actually, I don't know what game it was, but every time that he does it, he's wide open, but they just don't connect him and Lamar. And I would like to, just something. It's an anomaly or just something different, how we use him in that scenario, And I feel like if we can just pull those safety and make them feel like, oh, excuse my name, I'm gonna cuss, but holy crap, we got to defend the whole field. It's one of the things. It's not just Hollywood we have to worry about going vertical or Bateman. It's like make it unpredictable, like we've been doing all this season. Like I know I've said earlier, take what the defense give you, but at the same time, though, make them fear so you can create opportunities for other things that you would like to apply to your team or to your offense.
I like it. And when we've sent Duvernay up the seam, stretching the field deep, it's hard to tell, when you're watching film, whether he's just there to clear out the defense or if he's actually in that progression. So if it's a case where we're just using him to clear out the middle of the field for Andrews and Hollywood on these dig routes and crossers and all that other stuff we saw from Sammy. By the way, Sammy Watkins has not practiced. Worth mentioning, doesn't look like Sammy's going to play. But I'm interested to see if Duvernay is in the read and we actually throw it to him on one of these, where he's screaming up the seam. Like I said, I really want to stress Jesse Bates and not let him be able to wreck the game. Let's move Jesse Bates. Lamar is very heady as a quarterback. He's very good at moving the safety with his eyes, keeping the safety in place with his eyes. So, the deep ball, I would like to see the Ravens use that. And then in the running game, man, it would just be nice to continue to pound away. Like Jake said, find that happy medium between the almost 5 yards of carry that we're getting and the almost 4 yards of carry. The Bengals, we're getting 4.5 yards of carry. We're keeping the chains moving, keeping it on schedule, and be able to hit Andrews and use him on 3rd downs and touchdowns like we've seen. Just a great start to the year for Mark Andrews. So flipping to the other side of the ball, mentioned it briefly. Bengals, very good offense. Ravens have been up and down on defense, but looked great last week. Starting on the offensive line. Now the Bengals have tried to redo their offensive line. They brought in vets. They have Riley Reif at right tackle, who has stabilized a position that was a problem for them. The offense, Quentin Spain, longtime vet, very good player. Trey Hopkins is off to a slow start at center for the Bengals, ACL recovery, and we've seen in Baltimore how that affected a player like Matt Skura when he's not able to move. And they run, of course, a ton of zones, a stretch zone offense where they're basically just snapping the ball, trying to stretch you wide and depend on Joe Mixon to make his cuts. It looks like Jonah Williams is playing well at left tackle, at least in the 2 games that I've played. So an improved Bengals offensive line. Now you flip it over to the defensive front of the Ravens, a unit that has played pretty well all season, I would say, especially their edge rushers. And Calais Campbell, probably the MVP on defense of this team. You could pick a couple of guys, but Calais has just been killing it every year. So the battle up front, the physicality, how do you see this matchup playing out between the Ravens defensive line versus this Bengals offensive line?
I see it pretty. It's gonna be a dog fight, like I've been saying this whole time. Especially from the center. I think we have to make our living internally in the trenches, especially against the center. Like how you said with Hopkins coming off, ACL surgery. We got to test his mobility as much as possible. Like this is where not Calais Campbell does his dirty work a lot, but also I need to see more out. We've been wanting to see more out of Matabuke. It's been a nice rotation between him, Washington, Jelly, and all the others, but I would definitely need to see Matabuke, consistently get pressure in the interior. I don't know if you mentioned Riley Reef, but he's been playing pretty damn good. At the left tackle, I believe left tackle, correct?
Right tackle.
Right
Yeah.
tackle. So right tackle, and then Jonah Williams been at left, and he's been doing stellar as well. But yeah, so on the edges, I feel I I want to see, always going to do Owe. I'm not even going to be worried about Owe or Justin, but when it comes to depending on the packages that we use against them, or like if we go like a lighter set with like a NASCAR package, I would like to see Bowser, get some one-on-ones against, Jonah and test them out, or, figure out how we're going to work the interior. If we do put McPhee inside, I would like to see him go against Carmen, just veterans on a younger player and see how that works.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Garnett. The interior is their weakest spot right now. Carmen obviously is a rookie, and then Hopkins has been struggling. So seeing what Calais Campbell can do, what Justin Matabike can do, is gonna be critical. And then also we can't leave out the edge rushers and the way that Wink likes to move those guys around. We all know that his favorite defense is a bunch of guys that don't have a particular position. So I would not be surprised if Adafe Owe gets kicked inside, going against one of those guards, maybe trying to split between either A gap or maybe it's a B gap. But I would not be surprised at all. And then, just like you mentioned, we'll get into the passing game, but Tyus Bowser is going to be critical in this one because, of course, those guys have great weapons at wide receiver, but they also have some pretty solid tight ends that are going to be trying to move things in the run game. And Bowser is going to have to seal the edge as well as Houston and Owe.
Yes, when I look at it, we see Calais plays on the right side of the defense, which is the left side of this offensive line, a lot. So, when you go with Spain and Jonah Williams, I believe Calais obviously is just a super talented player playing at the highest level. I mean, it's possible. He's wrecking plays. The key for me is for Matabike to really step up in this game, to emerge like we've all been waiting for. Can he stay on the field? Is he a good enough run defender to stay on the field? I feel like this stretch zone blocking scheme that the outside zone that Cincinnati runs is perfect for Matabike to be able to use his quickness to get in those gaps. I mean, it's not a downhill running game coming right at him. He can attack. He can attack in those gaps. And then when I look at Brandon Williams versus Trey Hopkins, I've seen this movie before. Brandon Williams is going to be able to uproot Hopkins, especially coming off this injury. So it's up to me, the difference in this is Matabike. He has got to be a monster in this game. If he steps up and can really, really have his best game of the season, I see everything else taking care of itself on that side of the ball. Offensive line of the Bengals versus defensive line of the Ravens. I expect, like I said, Calais Campbell's going to do his thing. Owe, as you mentioned, going to do his thing. Justin Houston will be there. Bowser, we've seen him set the edge pretty darn well against the Cincinnati team in this scheme. So, Matabike, come on, buddy. It's time. Like, we're all rooting for you. We all believe in you. Our predictions are Matabike is going to do this. Matabike is going to do that. So this is the Justin Matabike game. Derek Wolf's coming back hopefully soon. But until he comes back, it's really a lot's on Matabike. And when I look at these snap counts, by the way, and Calais is playing 3/4 of the game and Matabike is not even playing half the game, that tells me all I need to know. Like, we need this young man to step up, be more than a sub rusher, an every down player. And let's see that flashes that we had last week. So going to the run game specifically, Bengals have the ball in the run game. This is where the Bengals are ranked the lowest when it comes to yards per attempt. They are 21st. They're only running for 3.9 yards per attempt. The Ravens, don't look now because we've seen them be up and down, but they are ranked 10th in yards per attempt. They're only giving up 4.1 yards a rush. Josh Bynes came in last week, stabilized the situation big time. Brandon Williams got himself back on track. We mentioned the edge setting. Of course, you have corners like Tavon and Marlon Humphrey. You have a defensive back like safeties like Chuck Clark, Deshaun Elliott, good tacklers. So the tacklers are back in town for the Ravens. Is this an area that we can shut down Cincinnati and make them one-dimensional? Or do you think Cincinnati's still going to have success in spurts with such a great back like Joe Mixon?
Yeah, I think Joe Mixon is the kind of back that can be shut down, for 90% of the game, and then he busts one for 60, and then at the end of the game, it looks like you didn't necessarily have the best ground defense, the run defense, I should say. So I think the Ravens are going to do a good job. Everybody in Ravens flock should remember the Ravens playing Joe Burrow last year and what Patrick Queen was able to do on a blitz against Joe Burrow. And I mean, he lit him up. And the same thing can be said for the run game. The way Queen can move, if the lanes are open for him, should enable him to get to Joe Mixon early. That is going to be on Brandon Williams. It's going to be on the rest of the guys up front to create those lanes. And it's going to be on Queen and Josh Bynes and Malik Harrison to get downhill in a hurry so that Mixon can't get his legs going. But ultimately, I don't see Cincinnati really being dominant on the ground. I see them really throwing the ball a lot in this one. And hopefully that one dimension isn't too strong against the Ravens.
Yeah, just to go off what you were saying, I think Joe Mixon is basically what they're gonna do. They have how can I call this? I call this a jab, jab, jab. Haymaker offense. All they're gonna do is basically just try to set you up for a deep ball. That's how they live and die with the deep ball. And then what Joe Mixon's game is basically I can get my yards trying to move the chains if I can, or just it's a steady Eddie type of run offense they try to run. And also, you need to watch out for him in the screen game too. He's a very proficient pass catcher out the backfield. I think that our linebackers are going to with the veteran leadership of Bynes. It shows tremendously as soon as he gets on the field. Having Queen at the wheel position it helps him a lot. Allows him to be a more faster player coming off, shooting in the gas or making plays. But I think Bynes is just his knowledge of the game is superb. Also, former Bengals, so he's familiar with them, with what they like to do as well. So I feel very confident with our linebackers going against their run offense, to be honest with you.
I do too, and the main reason for this, I think, is on the offensive or our defensive line being able to penetrate some, set the edge some, funnel Mixon back to the middle of that defense. And if Josh Bynes wasn't here, this would be a matchup I would be a little bit nervous about or think the Bengals could stay on track. But with Josh Bynes, like you said, not only knowing the Bengals offense, but knowing the league and knowing how these zone runs work, I expect him to be in the right spot and, to make it tough on Mixon. Just like, hey, you remember the Tennessee Titans playoff win for the Ravens last week? They've run that same offensive stretch zone running game. And you saw how we were able to stop Derrick Henry. We've gotten stronger on the edges. We still have Pernell McPhee in there, who's going to beat up whoever he's lined up against. And then you have obviously Bowser and Oweh has been really strong. So, I think that the running game, it's less to do with Mixon and Bynes, more to do with the defensive line. And I think it's going to be really important for the Ravens team to just shut this down because the Bengals passing attack is so dangerous that if they can keep you off balance with at least a decent run game, the Bengals don't need to run for 120 yards in this game. Like if they can just keep the Ravens honest, off balance a lot, it really opens up things for this pass game. The Bengals passing offense, third in yards per pass attempt, 8.8. Right there with the Ravens. You've seen Lamar is at 8.7 yards per attempt. Burrow is at 8.8. So that tells you how dangerous the Cincinnati passing offense has been. Garnett explained the deep shots that they like to take. The Ravens, they've been their weak spot. They're 19th in pass defense, yards allowed per pass at 7.7. So, Anthony Averett has been targeted a lot. And Garnett, I know you have a lot to say on this one. Joe Burrow versus the Blitz. Here we're going to talk about Jamar Chase will probably be matched up. Marlon Humphrey will probably get a lot of Jamar Chase. I believe Tavon Young will be on the field a lot for this one, covering Tyler Boyd. And then that'll leave either Anthony Averett and probably mix in Jimmy versus T. Higgins with the big wide receiver on that side of the field. So, man, a lot to dig into here as we talk about the Bengals pass offense versus the Ravens pass defense.
Yes, sir. Yeah. It's going to be one of those matchups where I would like to see Marlon. This is why we pay Marlon, and I want to see it at full display. I want to see a couple, mix up, or as just so, try to be creative, but at the same time, let's not get too creative where we're putting ourselves in a bind. But I would like to see literally wherever in my world, I would like to see wherever Chase go, Jamar Chase go. I want to see Marlon go with them. I feel that with Averett, I feel very confident. A lot of people give him a lot of crap for this, the Indianapolis game. But other than that, can you guys recall the last time he actually had a real bad game though? Like seriously? Like it's not really there's not really no bad game he has. What I saw is I rather instead of having Averett off coverage 70 yards, let him play in the hip pocket of the receivers, and I think he can be very successful against the T. Higgins. And I do believe they played against. Wait, I don't know. Did they play against each other? And not to look that up in the championship game in NCAA, the Natty, but I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure he might be well aware of what he might be able to do against him or with him. But I'm very confident in Avery. That's not my session. My worry is basically the third guy is in the slot. I want to see how Boyd goes against Tavon Young or Brandon Stevens. I want to see how that matches up. And also CJ Uzama, that's somebody, that's a handful too. I know he doesn't really get the recognition that he deserves, but he's been having a stellar year as well. But across the board, I think we do have the defenders and the defensive pieces to maintain them. We're not going to stop them, but we can maintain and put basically bend but don't break. And I think if we can get home and get home with 4, I hope that can really help us out, because the fact that if we can't get home more than 4 and we're trying to send pressure, Joe Burrow against the Blitz is 79% completion rating, 7 touchdowns, and then 97% QBR, which is ridiculous. So our best bet is to basically do as much as we can, out and up instead of ending in the middle. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, you already mentioned it with Marlon Humphrey. This being one of those games that he stands out as a reason you paid him the big bucks, because Jamar Chase has been an absolute freak. I didn't think there was going to be a receiver coming into this year that would be doing things like Justin Jefferson did last year. And I think Jamar Chase is on that same path, if not better. So that's going to be critical. However, locking down one guy does not make this Cincinnati offense incapable of scoring on you. They have CJ Uzoma. They have Drew Sample, who's not quite as physical of a specimen at tight end, but he's still going to be able to catch some balls on you, probably get a touchdown, especially if they kind of do the same things that the Ravens have been known to in the past, where it's the second tight end that gets the catch in the end zone on maybe a play action play. But T. Higgins on Anthony Averett is also just a huge matchup. I think Jimmy Smith matches up maybe a little bit better when you're talking about the physicality aspect of the game, high pointing, but Averett has not been bad. It was one game this year, and other than that, he's been pretty stellar. So I'm going to give him all of the opportunity to start and lock down his man. And then Tavon Young going against Tyler Boyd is going to be interesting. I would be giving some help to Tavon, not because he's too small, but that's a tough matchup. Tyler Boyd is a really good receiver that does not get a lot of credit around the league, and I think if you stick Tavon on him all game, Boyd's going to rack up a ton of catches. Maybe it's not for huge yardage at a time, but you don't really want to see Boyd, catch 10 balls on you for a touchdown or two. Honestly, the best way to shut down this Cincy team is limiting all of their players, and that's really hard to do.
It's really hard to do. And for me, it starts with Marlon on Chase. Echo you guys on that one. It's time, Jamar Chase is going to make his plays, especially with the instant chemistry him and Burrow have. So Marlon's going to give up some, but he's been in this league for so long. He understands the game. He understands this matchup. The game Marlon had against Cincinnati last year was one of his best games. Seems like Marlon always plays well against the Bengals. My thoughts on the Tavon versus Tyler Boyd. That's a key one for me because I think Tavon has played a little bit better every week and coming back, obviously, from a rash of injuries. So, yes, Tavon's going to have to hold his own there. And then Averett versus Higgins. No secret, Anthony Averett has been targeted a lot. T. Higgins, a little bit up and down, it seems like, as far as his production. But overall, he's a young player who's on the come up. I would like to see Jimmy matched up more in this matchup, like Jake said. But when Anthony is over there on T. Higgins, one thing that Averett doesn't have to worry about is speed. He has got a major speed advantage over T. Higgins. Higgins obviously has the size advantage. So if Anthony can just stay disciplined and not rush things like he did against Michael Pittman from Indianapolis, just trust his speed, I think that he'll be okay against T. Higgins. So a lot of weapons. You mentioned Uzoma, Drew Sample, a lot of weapons, a smart quarterback. So this brings us to how the Ravens should attack this Bengals offense. Now, last year, we absolutely destroyed Cincinnati with all these blitzes. They weren't ready for it. Burrow, quite frankly, didn't look ready for it to make the adjustments at the line of scrimmage. Not sure if that has changed. But what has changed is wink. Our definition of full wink, half wink, no wink is out the window now, fellas. Like, this is a new wink. We're still going to show as much pressure as we can bring, or show all out blitzes and zero coverage. But then we just drop them off back into coverage. So it's even more unpredictable now. We saw with Justin Herbert, he had a hard time really getting into a rhythm in this game. So how would you attack? Garnett read the Joe Burrow versus the blitz numbers there. Just excellent. So do you blitz Burrow like we did last year, kind of, or are you just completely backing off, closing down these windows, giving your cornerbacks help? How should this defense attack Cincinnati's offense?
This is a classic no wink game for me. I want to see four-man pressure get there. I want to see as many guys in coverage as possible because we mentioned how many weapons they have. They legit could go 4 wide receivers on us, and any of those 4 guys could catch a ball for a big play. Auden Tate is the other one, as long as he's healthy. I haven't confirmed that he's good to go for this week, but think about how many weapons they have. Those guys, they have the running back Mixon, they have the tight ends Uzoma and Sample. You need as many coverage players as you can get. And one of the key factors in this game for me is the guy that came back this past week and had a heck of a week, Deshaun Elliott. He is one of Wink's favorite players out there. You can move him all over the field. He can play well in coverage like he did against Jared Cook on that interception. And he can blitz. But if you're sending him, make sure it's just on a 4-man rush. You can simulate all you want, but make sure you have the coverage guys in there. And I will be happy with the results as long as the Ravens play their best ball, because if they're playing their best ball, I am not very worried about this team.
Yes, sir. I'm same thing. Like with the situation, I'll go no wink as well. Of course, I'm never going full wink, but this is one of those games where I feel that Owe could have a really Owe coming out party or a Houston coming out party. This is where these guys can really make their stamp on this game, because if we can get home with 4, or Matabuke is a dog, Calais is gonna be Calais, but if we can just win those battles on one-on-ones on the edge, it's gonna help out tremendously when it comes to coverage, because their offense is literally all about timing. And then like basically allowing him to step in the pocket and make that deep shot. So if we can just pressure him a couple times, get him rattled. Joe Burrow, he doesn't crack. That's one thing I respect him about. He doesn't crack under pressure, as I just read off from the pressure. But so if you can get home with 4, you're creating an opportunity for yourself. And it's one of those things where if this game is gonna, well, I'm not gonna get to it. I'm not gonna ruin the next segment of the game, but it's really all about who makes the less mistakes wins the games. So I'm just hoping our pass rush can get home and cause havoc and give us an opportunity to win.
Yes. Now, I mean, the only thing I can say to counter, you guys, because I agree. I agree. So my only, counterpoint would be I would like to see when we do blitz. It's not like we're not going to blitz. I mean, we're going to blitz some. When we do blitz, I want to see us test. Jackson Carman, the rookie, been up and down, was throwing up on the field last week with some food poisoning. And of course, we mentioned Hopkins at center. So that is the spot I want to attack. We were right on last week, by the way, guys, when we talked about the right side of that Chargers line. We saw Storm Norton get tossed a few times. We really took, and Michael Schofield, that's where we brought pressure. That was a problem all game. So if we're trying to go 2 for 2 in this and call them where the pressure's coming from, I'm saying that A gap and B gap on the right side of their line, testing Trey Hopkins, testing Jackson Carman. Riley Reef is a very good player. He's not a dynamic athlete tackle. So I expect when Owe is on that side or Justin Houston's on that side, it's going to be a problem for them. And yes, when I talk about who's going to blitz, we've seen Tavon blitz off that corner really, really well. And Deshaun Elliott, he's probably going to get a couple of cracks at it too. So yes, more disguises from the Ravens defense, not as aggressive. This isn't the 2020 Ravens or the 2019 Ravens defense. Without Marcus Peters, things change. You have to cater to your group. And it looks like Wink Martindale has really found his sweet spot with, hey, we're going to show all this pressure, but instead of it being, you don't know who's coming, it's going to be, you don't know who's dropping, which is really the same thing, but you get what I'm saying. It's not, they got to be more concerned about these guys dropping into windows and not seeing them more than ever. But yeah, hey, it wouldn't hurt to hit Burrow a couple of times and get him something that he hasn't seen. See if he's learned from last year to adjust his protection. See if this offensive scheme has learned. We got beat by the Ravens blitz last year. So yeah, I'm not going to go into full, hide mode. I think eventually we will go into a no wink, but it wouldn't hurt, I think, to test them early, show some faith in Marlon and Deshaun on the back end, and pepper that A gap, B gap a little bit, bring Tavon a little bit. So final thoughts on the game. Here we go, fellas. Huge game, as I mentioned. Depending on what's happening right now, we're recording this during the Cleveland Brown game. This could be a huge opportunity for the Ravens. They can get a full 2-game lead over Cincinnati, a full 3-game clean lead over the Cleveland Browns, possibly the Steelers. For the Bengals, this is probably the biggest game of the season for them. Hey, we're excited in this town. Look at our good team, 4-2 wet record, well earned by the Cincinnati Bengals. If we can go into Baltimore and beat this Ravens team, man, it changes our whole season around. So final thoughts on this huge, huge matchup, divisional matchup in Baltimore between the Ravens and the Bengals.
All right. Well, first off, I would like to say, Cincinnati, I respect the hell out of you guys. You guys are a year earlier than I expected, which is scary. But I feel that, you're still the little brother. No disrespect, man. I feel that I think that we having Lamar and then a newly formed offense where we had no touch but the form early, I think they just not going to be able to stop it. I feel that we'll be able to get up on them early and get a turnover or some sort of, make a turnover on downs or something like that, make them punt. and then we're going to make them play, out of their comfort zone. It's one of those things where instead of you wanting to, jab. I mean, when I mean jab, like run the ball a couple times, to just get the chain, get a rhythm. Now we're going to force you guys to do one jab, and okay, I gotta get the ball out. We got to get the chains moving. So hopefully we can also do a up tempo type of offense. Even though Joe Burrow is good at an up tempo, but I don't think he hasn't played a defense like us just yet. Other than Green Bay was okay, but I feel that we're gonna get them.
Yes. So I agree with you. The Ravens can absolutely win this game. Every game I say this, I just hope the team plays their best ball. And if they do, I'm not worried about the Ravens against any team. Of course, they can be thinking the same thing on their side. If they play their best ball, they can beat us. I just think Baltimore has more juice. The passing game is leaps and bounds better than it was last year for Baltimore. The passing game for Cincinnati is pretty similar to what they had last year, but better because of the addition of Jamar Chase, having CJ Uzoma, who they lost early last year. They have so many weapons, and this game could end up being really tight. I just give the edge to the Ravens. Their kicking game is a little better. If you see a parallel between the Ravens and the Packers, you're thinking maybe the Ravens are slightly better, or they have the chance to beat the Bengals in a 3-point game. I think it won't necessarily be 3 points. It could be, but I'm expecting Baltimore to come out and do their thing, especially since it's a home game right before the bye, and make sure that they are taking a big AFC North lead into their bye so that they can get guys healthy and come back even stronger.
Yeah, I don't expect the Ravens to overlook this game at all. It's a huge opportunity. Like I said, especially if Cleveland loses tonight, you see that you could put a 3-game lead between you and who everybody was calling for to win the division in the Cleveland Browns. You would have a 2-game lead over Cincy with the tiebreaker. So, yes, as important as this game is to the Cincinnati Bengals, litmus test, and all the other things I said, I think that the Ravens team will be extremely motivated for this game too. Now, there's a difference between being motivated and playing your best game. I love what Jake said. It's one of the reasons where I don't get into score predictions myself. Like everybody else is welcome to do that. I do an NFL pick show with Alec Paulinas for fun. But really, when it comes down to it, I don't try to predict these games because it really does come down to any given Sunday, like the cliche does. If the Ravens have an off game and the Bengals have their good game, Cincinnati definitely has a chance to win this game, and vice versa. If the Ravens have a good game, Cincinnati's going to have a hard time keeping up with the Ravens at home, especially the crowd noise. Man, the crowd's been excellent this year, by the way. You can just hear the difference, the excitement in this game. So what I am looking for specific wise, other than playing well, is for the Ravens to establish the run like they did last week. You saw what kind of difference that made when we're back to getting those yards per carries. Teams can't afford to do that, to let the Ravens with these older backs just pound them into the dirt because Lamar coming. Like they say, Omar coming. Lamar coming eventually. So if you're giving up yards to Latavius Murray, Le'Veon Bell, Devontae Freeman, whoever else is in there, you're in trouble. And then on the other side of the ball, yeah, man, I'm looking to see if we can rattle Joe Burrow, who is as mentally strong and has a great feel for a game as a rookie is. I have seen, and through whatever, I mean, he hasn't even played a full season worth of games yet because of his injury last year. So calm, bright future in Cincinnati. I'm a big Joe Burrow fan just from how he handles the game. It's funny, man, though, Lamar's arm strength gets underrated. When I look at Joe Burrow throw and Lamar throw, I mean, as far as like arm strength, deep ball touch, I like our guy, man. I like our guy, Lamar. So big things in this one. Now, I did want to close the show by asking Mr. West to unmute his mic. And the reason I'm doing this is because I asked Garnett to sing after I did my Andre 3000 impression last week. Said, Storm Norton, you can plan a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather. Asked Mr. Garnett. Now he comes out with a karaoke tweet on Twitter. So, Mr. West, Could you leave us with a closing tune, please?
All right, so I'm gonna do a remix of an Afro Man song. Let's see if I can do this right. So Colt 45, two zigzags, baby, that's all we need. We can go to the bang at the dart and roll those Bengals up. See, hey, there we go. See, that works. All right, let's go.
It works for me, Garnett. It
All right,
works
okay.
for me. Yes. Now, it wasn't the most melodic thing that I've ever heard, but I thought the lyrics were spot on.
All
I
right,
thought
okay.
the rhythm and timing was good. If I were to critique, I would definitely give that a B plus and an A for preparation. The
All right.
lyrics very prepared.
Thank you. Thank you. I tried.
I imagine Mr. Vogel, Mr. Cool over there, is not going to give us the same pleasure. So I'm not even going to ask him. He wants to bust out a
major props to Garnett. Definitely B plus. I'm not really shy to do music, but I don't know. On the spot right now, I'm not feeling it.
You can't give us a glory?
Is that a
Go
glory,
Dogs.
glory, hallelujah?
Just say- yeah. Yep.
Hey, well, no singing for me this week. I'm just hoping for a really good game. I'm hoping, the Ravens can just stay healthy, get healthier into this bye week, and really see what we have. An exciting game, a big game at Baltimore. So thank you to our football family out there. Another great job by the guys, always super prepared. And this is a heck of a show. I really appreciate you guys for your help. So thank you to my football family. Fellas, say goodbye to the people now.
Peace.
So yes.